It is that time of year again. We made it back to our camping spot. Tomorrow is the spring turkey opener, which once again, we're doing a backpack turkey hunt because this is what I look forward to. So it's about 9:30 p.m. We walked in here pretty late. We did a last minute drive with the truck, just trying to see if we can locate some birds, both visually and audibly. Didn't hear any gobbles because we didn't try locating. We just went and looked around and we found plenty of turkeys, but those turkeys are all by the road. We're quite a bit of ways back in here, so we're not gonna play with those birds. But it's getting late, so we got some gear that we need to dump off here, set up our tent, and relax and see what's in store for tomorrow. On this trip, since it's a quick overnighter, I downsized my bag. So this is the initial Ascent 3K bag. So I went down from a 5K to a 3K, and it was a tight fit to get all my gear in here, but we made it work. And when you have a smaller bag, it helps you bring what you need and leave out what you don't need. So on my Argali Alpine 0 degree sleeping bag, my Argali Absaraka 4-person, both the tent and the insert, because there's 3 of us, and because it's tick season, we want the insert so we don't have to worry about ticks crawling in our ears while we sleep. And if you look at that, that's what was in my main bag. I mean, I have my sleeping pad and then the center pole for the shelter, and that's what was in my main compartment. Everything else is in this little pouch here, like an extra tarp, water filter, puffy jacket, and all the good stuff. My food, my electronics, my jet boil, wipes, it's all in the lid, water bottle on the side, and then headlamp, accessories in here, and then as well as my bino harness right here. I've got my pistol holster, optics, and then extra batteries here. And then you saw it first, but Ava, my turkey decoy, she was strapped to the outside. And then I have my shotgun behind me, and that's what I brought. Good. Mountain House beef stew, one of the better mountain houses that I've had. Got a fire going. I also made one of our guys bring in some sausage links. We'll eat that, but first we need a fire to cook. What a beautiful steak. Perfectly cooked. had some decent stuff. This morning, alarm went off around 4:45, and I was laying around listening. Nothing was going on by us. We heard, I had a bunch of them down low, which is exactly where I thought I was going to hear them. There's probably a few handful down there. And then that was like 5:20 in the morning. And then 5:45, after everything was well lit, we had a bird right above our camp go off. He had a few hens with him, maybe a few jakes too, but I thought they were up higher, but I guess they made their way down, and so they were like kind of meeting us head on in a way. So we turned a corner and the strutter was in this gut with the other turkeys, and they kind of saw us, but they weren't super spooked, but they started heading their way back up. He's killable, but I just didn't like our positioning, so we're just making our way over. And as soon as we got over here, one drainage over, there was like 3 more that just piped off. So just taking a lay of the land and gathering as much intel as possible until we find one that's in a viable situation with the odds in our favor. Then we'll go after him. But for now, just a lot of glassing and walking. Birds have been pretty quiet since they hit the ground. We've been walking along this road and birds are gobbling down below us, which I knew they were going to be down there. And we just turned into this little pocket, and on the road below us there's a lone tom. He's strutting, he's by himself. But there's another one that's around him that's gobbling. But that's not him, so there's at least 2. I'm sending Wachong down there. There's so many birds, it's way more effective if everybody goes and kills their own bird. We can all be shooting 3 instead of doing 1 by 1. So that's a killable bird. He doesn't have any hands, so I'm sending the rookie down there to go and test his luck. Normally, if it's a new hunter, new turkey hunter, I'll go and like help him out, but I think there's more merit to having them try their first few setups on their own. And then if it pans out, then they learn a lot. If it doesn't pan out, then I'll go and help them afterwards. But it's a nice tom. I think for a first turkey, he'd be tickled with them. We're just making our way down to this other drainage back over here. A lot of deer. The turkeys have quieted down. We heard what sounded like a gunshot, which, if it is, I think Wachong shot. Did he get the turkey? I don't know, but definitely sounded like he shot. So I don't think he has service where he's down at. So we're gonna keep on trekking because I think there's plenty more turkeys to go around, but we haven't done any calling. We've been just glassing because we're in a bunch of clear cut. And anytime I can locate turkeys without giving off my location by locating, I opt towards it and sneak in as close as I can before I make a sound of any kind. Gonna make our way down here to where we've been hearing some gobbles, and hopefully we lay eyes on them, or if not, then we'll resort to calling. It's just a lot of covering ground to pin all the birds at, and then you make the move on the bird that is in the best situation for you to kill one. That's a turkey. Well, we made it back up here, and the kid shot the bird. This is the one that I glassed up from this road that we're on, and we glassed him down the gully. I sent him down, and like I said, that bird was super killable. Early season like this, if you find a lone bird, go after him. He's desperate. Right now, the majority of toms are flocked up with hens because a lot of hens are still actively being bred, and some of them haven't gone out to find nests, so they're still hanging out with the tom all day, literally roosting with the tom. And a lot of the times those flock toms are extremely hard to call because they don't really have a reason to leave their hens to come to you, which is another hen. And so when I first glassed up this tom down below, like that's like the midway, I wanted to come back and check this drainage. So there's 3 of us, there's 3 tags. So I looked at him, I was like, he's alone. He's in the middle of the road. He's in a super killable spot. You just got to drop down and kill him. And so I gave him the option. I was like, which one of you guys are going to go kill him? And they both were hesitating. So I told them, I was like, if neither of you are going to go, then I'm going to go kill him. And then that finally got the spark, and Wachong went down there, and sure enough, went down there and caught, and he came running in on a string. So that's his first turkey. Take a look at him. Not a bad beard. Where'd you hit him?
Right in the neck.
Pretty head. It's a pretty head. They have the most beautiful ugly heads.
Nice parts.
Not bad. Yeah, he's got some nice little hooks to him. They're not fully hooks, but he's kind of all ruffled up. Anything to say on your first bird?
Ready for number 2 and number 3.
How accurate was I on my call? I told you to go down there. He was going to come in on a string. What happened?
Came on a string.
That's right.
Give props to myself too for calling him in.
No. The reason why I told you to go down there by yourself was because I knew you would gain a lot more experience if I wasn't there with you. If he was a harder bird or he was henned up, I would have went with you. But these are the birds where, like, if you do it alone, like, it's way more exciting because everything's on you. And these are the good starter birds. Like, if you want to learn turkey hunting, you got to find these birds. Like, they don't give you a lot of trouble, and they just come in and you get to shoot them and experience it all to yourself. That's why I sent you down there. Well, I gave you guys the option. I was like, this is the most killable bird, but you guys were hesitating.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked.
I'm sure you were.
If only if someone was there to experience it.
It's 8:45 in the morning, so we are going to take a quick break, eat some breakfast, drink up. There's a lot of deer, so guys have their spotters out looking at deer. But this is early season hunting. Today's opening day, April 15th. And this is the time where you just have to hunt accordingly to what the turkeys are doing. So opening day, and this is from a very general perspective, every time it's different, but generally speaking, which today has been a prime example of opening day. Opening day, most toms are still flocked up. They're with hens. Whether they have 1 or 2 hens or 12 hens, it doesn't really matter. The point is they're a flock tom. And right now, maybe since the start of April about, is when these giant winter flocks of like hundreds, these giant flocks of turkeys with all sorts of different age classes, toms, jakes, hens, you name it, they all winter up together because that's what they do. But as spring approaches to like right about now, like the end of March, beginning of April, that's when these giant winter flocks start to break off into their own little subgroups. So a dominant tom will take his fair share of hens, another tom will take his fair share of hens, and they essentially separate themselves like that until all the hens are taken. And sometimes when all the hens are taken, that leaves out some toms, like subordinate toms, younger toms, where they don't have a hen. And those are a little bit more on the rare side right now because there's so many hens to go around. So even though if he doesn't have like 12 hens, he still might get 1 or 2 hens. But like the one that Wachong just shot, I mean, he was purely alone, which is why when I first saw him, I was like, that's the most killable bird because one, it's opening day. Nobody's been pressuring these birds. These birds have no idea what's going on. And he's just looking for a hen. And so he went down there and called him in on a string, shot him. The vast majority of the other toms that are still around here, they have hens, like the flock that we had right above camp this morning that we kind of jumped. And those ones are a little bit harder because since they have hens, you're imitating a hen. He doesn't have a reason to leave his 3, 4, 10 hens to come to 1 hen. And so in those situations, yes, you can sometimes drag them away, but most of the time it's very difficult. Those are the turkeys or the flock of turkeys where I switch my tactic from going from calling to the tom to calling to the lead hen, because the tom is going to follow where the hens go. But if you talk to the hen and the hen's coming to you, the tom's going to follow. But that's only if the hen wants to play. But right now, because these hens are still with the toms, a lot of toms right now, they go quiet and they're just strutting around their hens as the hens are pecking around, feeding around. Right now, as the season starts to go, we have these subgroups, as I was talking about, one tom with like maybe a handful of hens. And slowly as the season progresses, these flocks of hens with the tom will slowly start separating from the tom one by one, because now, after they're done being bred by the tom, they start focusing on nesting and finding a nest where they can lay their eggs and then eventually incubate the eggs. As the season progresses and those hens start dispersing from the toms, that's when you get what I consider peak rut, where there's so many toms left around, because these are the flock toms that nobody's killed early season, that are now henless because all the hens have been bred. They don't need the tom anymore. And that's why late April, first week of May is usually my favorite time, because it can be hot out in the turkey woods. But again, we're early season, so we're kind of just picking and choosing. That's why if any of you are wondering why like we're seeing so many turkeys and I'm kind of just walking past, it's because just judging from past experience and judging the scenario and feeling the vibes of those turkeys, you probably have a lower chance of killing those ones, and you have a higher chance of finding someone or finding a tom that wants to play. That's just the thought process of why I'm doing it the way I'm doing here. So regardless, 1 tom down. We're gonna chill here for a second, and then we know the birds are down here, so we'll try to go play with them after. We're back over here overlooking a lot of country. I glassed up a turkey way down on this road. There's a lot of heat waves because it's warm, but I think it's just a hen, a lone hen, which I think lone hens are a good sign. Hens are starting to wander and find their nest, which should mean that toms are losing hens by the day. Hopefully we can glass up a lone tom here and we'll make a play on him. But first, lunchtime. Giant summer sausage. I just picked up a flock of turkeys, 2 redheads for sure. I don't know if they're jakes or toms, but 2 redheads, 2 hens it looks like, and they're chilling on this open ridge. It's far, but there's turkey. Sun is high, it is hot. The 2 guys are gonna sit there, and the 2 toms and the 2 hens I glassed up are chilling on this open face. I've got like a 2.5 mile hike just to get over there, so I'm gonna go over there. They're gobbling on their own, so you can sit here and watch them and do nothing, but kind of getting an itch on the trigger. So they're gonna spot the turkeys. I'm gonna make my way over there. It's pretty open, so like I can keep good visual as I'm hiking over there anyway. But we're just gonna go over there and see if they want to play. I just made it. I think the turkeys are just above me, maybe about 200 yards if they're still there. Just kind of tucked myself off the side of the road. It's pretty thick in here, right here, so I'm gonna start calling here and see if I can pull them down. Kill zone time. This is truly cat and mouse. I was down low. I thought I heard a gobble up top. I came up here, called. There's like 2 or 3 gobblers down below me. I'm just gonna reposition and see if I can pull them up. They seem kind of hot.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Woo! I don't know if I got that on video. Oh, I don't know if I got that on video, but afternoon bird, baby. Birds are going nuts. Oh, yes. Woo. Yes. Thank you, Lord. Oh my goodness. Woo. Oh yeah, opening day bird down. He's a good one too. I got 2 spectators over there. I gotta show them. This is why you don't give up.
Gotta always just take a moment to admire them. Look at the colors of this. This is called turkey rainbow. When their feathers shine against the sunlight, they turn all sorts of colors: orange, red, purple, blue, green. Beautiful birds. And then obviously, these are the Merriam species, so these feathers right here, they're tipped with white. True Merriams are extremely white, but here we have a crossbreed between Rio Grandes and Merriam, so it's more prominent on the fan, but you can see how there's some buff tan on the tips, but I don't care. He came in, gave me one good strut before he let down his fan and busted me. Also, they have beards and it comes out of their chest. This one's about, I don't know, 7-8 inches long. Pretty average. Right here on their wing feathers, you can see how it's chipped off instead of nice and round. That's because he's been strutting, and when they strut, their feathers hit the ground and they chip off the tips. And then the last thing is just coming over here and looking at his spurs. Those things can do some damage. This guy's got nice little spurs. Beautiful. This bird's feathers are not beat up at all many times during the spring because gobblers are getting aggressive and fighting for mates and territory. Not necessarily territory, but just for hens. You sometimes get toms that just are losing a lot of feathers because they've been fighting each other, but this guy's got all his feathers intact as far as I can tell, but it's my first one. I'm very excited with this one. This is a prime example of a afternoon turkey hunt. I saw 4 turkeys right here, 2 redheads and 2 hens as far as I can tell. And then Chris threw the spotter on them as well. And Chris is like, one of them's at least a tom. So I wasn't gonna come over here if it was just 2 jakes, but Chris was like, no, I'm very confident that one of them was a tom. So to get from our glassing knob with the best route, walking the road, it was about a 2.5 mile hike just to get to the road below. The turkeys were right here hanging out and kind of going in and out of this clearing to that clearing over there. And so I made my 2.5 mile hike over here, and because it's so open, I didn't have a lot of game plans. So I just said, hopefully I can pique their curiosity and they just come and cover a lot of distance to me. So I sat on the road below and they were going off for a little bit there, and nothing really came of it. So I sat there for like an hour. A hen eventually came in silent because I never saw the hen, but I heard an alarm putt. And then it disappeared, and then all the turkeys sounds like they just kept moving up the ridge. So I sat there for another 30 minutes to see if, you know, they would just gain curiosity of like, oh, I should go check out this hen. Never did. So I let out one final yelp from that spot, and then I thought I heard a faint gobble up and over. Basically said, if I can just get right over the knob right before they can see me and set up, maybe they'll just come over and peek over and give me the head, and I'll take the headshot. But once I got up here, I set up, I called, 3 gobblers gobbled back behind me past where I set up. And I'm turning around, I'm like, what in the world? What is happening here? And so I just said, all right, well, in this case, they're kind of going off. So I essentially did a reverse with my decoy. I came in, picked up my decoy, put my decoy where I was sitting, and then I came in and sat up top. So instead of facing uphill, I'm now facing downhill to see if I could draw them up. And I start going off and they start gobbling, and then this guy gobbles off to my left like 90 degrees. And I'm like, all right, well, at this point I have multiple options, so I'm just gonna take whichever one comes in first. And this guy was hot. Every time I chirped, like he would hammer, like he would gobble like 2 or 3 times per one sequence of my yelp. And I'm like, all right, I need to shift my focus to this guy because he was clearly covering ground too. And with where I am, I'm on the ridge top and there's a lot of trees, little pine trees, and it's also very steep, so I can't really see. So by the time if he shows up, it's within like 10 yards. So I knew I had to be very keen on listening to his drumming because I knew he wasn't gonna gobble once he got close. He was just gonna spit and drum. And sure enough, it's kind of windy up here, so it was super hard to hear, but there was one wave where the wind stopped and I heard the drum, and I'm like, oh, he's right here. And he came out a little bit to my right and fanned out a little bit because he came out in between me and my decoy, so he clearly saw my decoy down low, but obviously he was also looking up at me because that's where the calls were coming from. And at that point, I mean, I already had everything dialed. Like the camera, I panned over to him, just hoping that I had him on video, and then rocking my super, super bougie, expensive $200 H&R partner pump shotgun. This is a 12 gauge. This is my first ever shotgun that I bought. $200 shotgun, and it's going strong. And this year I have it topped with a new Vortex Viper red dot, and this red dot is really sweet because you don't need a Picatinny rail anymore. With how they designed this Viper red dot, it goes directly to the receiver of your shotgun, so you have a much more streamlined setup, as well as when you look down the barrel, you don't need a cheek riser because the red dot sits a lot lower. So that's the setup that I'm using this year, and one and done with the first one. And I'm shooting the good old Winchester Longbeard XR 3-inch shell, shot size 5. Just super thankful. God is good. That's my beautiful first tag notched for 2025. And like I said, man, these are early season, man. You deal with a lot of hand-up gobblers and you kind of go through them. And then finally you hit one that doesn't have any hens and he's desperate for hens and he just comes in on a string. So 2 birds down for today. I got my 2 little spectators that were sitting across. They were buzzing my phone up like, come on, time to go, let's hurry, there's nothing left, nothing's going. And I'm like, guys, turkeys are gobbling everywhere over here. And mid text with them, this guy came in and I shot him. So that's the first one. Super stoked with him. Opening day, man, pretty bird. With that said, I got a long hike. I got a 2.5 mile hike to get back to where they're glassing from, and then a 2 mile hike to get back to camp, and then pack up camp, and then head back to the truck. We're notching the date, April 15th. April 15th, right down here. Just like that. Now we throw the extra little tags that we cut off back in here. But your tag has to be physically attached to the carcass. So we're gonna take this in my very own Samong Yang Outdoors tag wallet. If you don't know what this is, so this is a little water resistant pouch with a zipper on top and comes with 2 reusable zip ties. And you simply put your tag that you've notched in here, zip it up, and then you take the 2 zip ties and use it through these loops right here to attach it to the turkey. So if we come here, we're gonna take the zip tie, loop it through, come over here, zip this in just like that, and then we're going to do the same thing to this side. That way this securely attaches our tag to the carcass or the turkey as legally required. The advantage of this over electrical tape is if a game warden comes and checks on you, with this you simply unzip this, pull out the tag, and he can check it and then you're on your merry way. But electrical tape, on the other hand, because you have your tag wrapped around its leg and you're wrapping your tag around electrical tape, if the game warden comes and checks, you have to unwrap all of that electrical tape, show him the game or show him the tag, and then rewrap it again with electrical tape. So this is reusable. So once you buy one of these, you're set for life, really. Legally tagged, we can get out of here. But I need to clean out my pack. This is only a 3K bag, so I have to put my turkey in my load shelf because not only do I have my day gear, but I have camp to go and pack up as well. So we're gonna have to minimize, or we're gonna have to maximize all the room in our pack. This is the load system on the initial Ascent. This pack, love this frame, super sturdy, helps support your back, especially with heavy weight. Just put him in just like so, but he's gonna be dripping blood a little bit. Take this, essentially gonna sandwich him onto the frame. This system right here is pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out how to use this. All right. Simply go back and reattach the side straps to the bag, and then you sandwich the turkey or your load in between the bag and the frame. That way you don't lose any bag space. And then last but not least, Ava gets a backpack ride too. Whoa, you got a turkey too?
Nice.
Good work.
Thanks, man. Good work too.
You missed out.
You went heck of far.
What are you talking about? I went exactly where the turkeys were.
I don't know, man.
Woo! That's a triple for the day, boys. Wachong got one, I got one, Chris got one. Wachong already did because he never waits for us. But Wachong headed out first. They've been at the tent for a little bit. I went super far, so I had to take some time, but triple opener. With the sun starting to set, that's gonna be a wrap for spring turkey opener. It is 4:40 p.m. Made it back to the tent, and we're gonna get ready to pack up here, hike out to the truck, and then head on home because we've got some birds to process. Today was a blast. I tagged out, Wachong tagged out, Chris tagged out, so all three of us, we've got our first Washington tag of 2025 notched. Season is young, so we'll definitely be out. And right now, again, we are still dealing with early season birds. So the flocked up toms are nearly untouchable, but the lone guys like these, they're a little bit more prone to planes. So we're gonna pack up here, ease our way out of here, and on to the next one. Appreciate you watching.